Welcome back to Reign of the Contest here, Flanks06, continuing again here. This is the fourth video in this PVE tier video series. I hope you have been enjoying it so far. If you haven't seen any of the videos prior to this one, definitely start with D tier. Then of course going up from there, C, B, and now we are on the A tier video. So today we will be continuing on to see who is up in this upper echelon. We're getting pretty close to the top. Well, let's go over our rules again real quick here before we get started. As you'll remember, the Overlord perks make up part of how the rule set works. So specifically, we're looking at these first two bullet points. When the Overlord attacks, ignore all effects applied by heroes or scrolls on itself and its targets. So specifically being immune to anything that would affect the attacks of the Overlord. Then the next one, if any power effect would control the boss, copy, negate, or remove one of their attacks, they take 12 damage instead. Next here is the boss phase. Specifically, we're just looking at that phase one where the boss gets to remove all temporary effects at the start of the round there. The next one is if they can remove permanent effects, and if they do, they take 5 damage. Conditions like cursed, protected, toughened, and weakened are all ones that would not work because of that first Overlord perk rule set that was mentioned. All right, tier list rules. Tier A, almost all ability damage and effects are usable in PvE, but one effect is still blocked or affected by this rule set that I've come up with. All right, so here we are. Tier A, we have 4 heroes in this tier: Avalam, Jirana, Juliet, and Rakaru. Avalam, the wizard, is the master of AoE damage in Arena of the Contest. He has some really amazing abilities to just wipe out the enemy, but unfortunately he does a little less damage when it comes just to single target damage, but he definitely can still hold his own. So specifically, his one effect that is blocked, of course, is Counterspell, his interrupt ability, which he would only get that negate. So he's getting that 12 damage from the Overlord effect there, but he does get hastened at least with that, which is always great for a shooter character. And then, of course, his shockwave damage, that's his heavy hitting there, doing 16 damage per hit up to 2 enemies. Then you get to move them 3 squares each, which is pretty significant. You can move them around quite a bit and do potentially get them into lava sources or spikes or something else if positioned right. Can be a little bit harder in PvE than it is in PvP. Next up is Arcane Blast. Arcane Blast, fantastic damage. Remember, when you use that ability, you place it in the center square of a 3x3 square. So I know sometimes this confuses people. It's 3x3 with your spot that you're picking on the ground as that center square. So remember that one. But anyway, you get 9 damage on hit there, and then you get to move the target 1 each. Last up is Magic Missile. Magic Missile there doing a pretty decent damage with 10 damage there, and the effect of 2 other enemies within your range, which is range 8, which is still great. Basically, you can use that if enemies aren't close by and still get a little bit of extra damage on some other 2 other characters, which is fantastic. So overall, great character, awesome AoE damage, a perfect damage dealing character for any team. Jirana the Amazon is a fantastic tank, just a great character to be able to move the enemy around and actually do pretty dang good damage for a tank character. So starting off with lightning reflexes, which I would classify as her signature ability, she gets a 16 damage on hit and then a permanent of making a basic attack at the end of all of her turns. So basically she can get out an additional 6 damage every single turn in addition to whatever she did before. Thunderous Charge, fantastic ability for getting across the battlefield, getting into those back lines and messing with characters in the back, or being able to get to your team side to defend them. And you get additional damage if you go far enough for 4 squares. Dance of Steel is the ability that is that one impacted with a toughened, of course. It's a decent ability where you can do a little bit of damage to somebody else without needing to do a second attack, and basically absorb a little extra damage. And then Whirling Strike, great ability mostly because you get that range too. You can pull people closer towards you, thus being able to get that circle protection on them and forcing them to attack you instead of your allies. So Jirana, a fantastic damage dealing tank. Juliet, the ice sorceress, is a high damage shooter character with a greater potential to be able to make her shots. So she has Icy Wind, for example, where she gets blessed and ignores curse, and she'll do 11 damage. And then if both of her blessed rolls actually hit the target, she'll do an additional 3 damage on top of that. So that's a great way to make sure you're always getting that hit, along with getting more damage if you get both of them. Winter's Breath is essentially an AoE attack where you're able to hit multiple targets with a single line. The first target hit is also slowed by that. A Frost Hurricane there, great ability to do a lot of damage. Unfortunately, that is her one ability with that permanent effect that can get removed by a boss. So there is the downside of that, but it's still pretty decent with 22 damage on hit. Last up is Blizzard, which is easily her best ability there, where she can strike up to 3 targets and then freely divide the 25 damage that she will do on the hit here. So that is fantastic to maximize the amount of damage that Juliet can do. So say you have an enemy that has, say, 7 health left, another one with 8, and another one with 10. You can split that up and be able to take them all out with the exact amount of damage that you need. The other great thing about Blizzard is you can essentially attack 3 different targets and make sure that at least one of those is going to be able to hit, and you'll get the damage off. So significantly increases your chances to actually make that special. Rakaru the Samurai is a fantastic tactician with damage moving potential, as well as probably one of the strongest permanent effects in the game. So looking at Dragon Spirit there, 25 damage on hit. Basically, it turns his tactics, his passive, into essentially whatever he needs it to be. So he can use his passive to do damage at range 8. He could also do healing on any of his allies. Basically, it's so strong and a fantastic ability. Just that versatility makes it so strong. 10,000 swords, being able to move up to 5 squares, and while you're doing that, you can strike each target twice at 7 damage per hit, up to 3 targets, so you can get a total of 6 shots off with that ability. A massive damage potential there. Fantastic ability. The biggest downside, of course, is more chance to potentially miss, but there is ways you can mitigate that through artifacts. Tide of Blades. That is great ability to be able to move the target, do some damage to somebody else that's nearby. And then last up is Ancestral Katana, doing 11 damage on hit at range 2. The target can't use its passive power. That is the one ability that I marked here as kind of like that block, sort of. It's kind of in the gray area here. But basically most characters don't have passive powers. Most of the bosses do. But due to the phase 1 boss effect, that's why that ability doesn't actually do anything, since it'll just get removed by the boss. Basically, that ability doesn't really get any use other than the fact that it's just a range 2 ability for 11 damage. So unfortunately, that is his one downside, but that is it for Rakaru. Still a great character. All right, so that is it for our tier video for today, A tier. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think, what you agree, what you disagree. Been already getting some great feedback from what you guys have told me before. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate, you guys watching, commenting, liking, subscribing. All that really helps me as a creator be able to grow, be able to get out to other people, and of course get people to enjoy this game. So anyway, if you enjoyed that, make sure to do those things I was just discussing, and we'll see you at the next one.